historic weekend. And speaking of history, we have three ladies here who are chasing history. According to an article on BBC News, they say they're chasing history. Didn't know we had one, but I'm happy that we do.
Woo!
What we have here, we have the Nigerian Women's Bobsleigh Team. Incredible.
Woo!
Thank you for
Hello,
having us.
ladies.
Hello.
Morning. Welcome. So you guys you're so unique.
I never thought I would say those words together.
I didn't think so either.
Ever.
I think you have become, or you will become, instant celebrities because it's just with Nigeria Bobsleigh Team. It's so strange to put those two words together.
When they make a movie about you guys, you know, like the one that we did with Jamaica.
Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings. I think it was John Candy.
Yeah.
Was good. It was great.
And that was the irony as well, because they're like Jamaica Bobsleigh Team. So it's amazing. I want to just ask that. Do you kind of, you know, our reaction today is a bit like, oh my gosh, we can't believe it. Do you get that a lot from people here in Nigeria?
Yeah.
And how do you deal with it?
Well, we also get it from people in the United States. Yes, you know, I think it's the idea that there is no snow, and you know, or there's no ice, and we are actually based out of Houston, Texas, where the weather is very similar to Nigeria, so if not hotter sometimes. So
I read you go to Canada, isn't it?
Yes, we actually went there to train about 2 weeks ago, and so you know, whenever we do training, that's the only opportunity that we get on ice. So we actually have to travel to these destinations, and so I think that the reaction has been, you know, how. And you know, I think the whole thing is that we have to be innovative, creative, and you know, and just create your own lane.
All right, we're going to take a little step back because I'm sure people hearing your accents say, hold on, these people are not Nigerians, these are Americans. No. So we have, you're going to introduce, you've got Sheon, right? Okay, Sheon, say a few words, yeah?
Yes.
Just tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Sheon Adigun. So, you know, I can give you a little bit of a Niger twang now. But, no, my name is Sheon. I am the driver of the Nigerian Women's Bobsled Team.
Okay. We'll explain that later, how, who does what, okay, yeah?
Yes,
And
indeed.
so what do you do full-time? Obviously, this is not a full-time job, right?
Yeah, no, it's not actually. I am a professional student, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm currently seeking a doctorate degree in chiropractic and a master's of science
go,
in
girl.
exercise.
All right, I hear that, I hear that. We didn't hear the full of it. So tell us again, one more, doctorate degree in what?
Chiropractic, doctorate of chiropractic, and a master's in exercise science for sports.
So I'm glad to see. See, I like the way you owned it. I'm a professional student.
That's
Unlike certain senators. All right, so we have Ngozi, right?
Yeah.
So let's tell us what you do. Move the microphone a little bit, move what you do, Kelly.
So I am Ngozi Onwumere, and I am a brakeman. I currently am just an artistic type of person. Literally, I seek to do anything that, you know, makes me thrive. I also work professionally as well as am a participant on the bobsled team.
So you're
work
like
professionally in what exactly do you do?
So currently, I'm a mortgage trainer.
Okay.
All right.
Fantastic.
So and also speaking spiritual enlightenment. You sound like Dalai Lama. Seeking enlightenment. All right, and then we have Akoma, yeah.
Yes, sir. My name is Akoma Omoga, and I am a brakeman as well on the Nigerian Women's Bobsled Team. Professionally, I'm actually transitioning careers. So I was a healthcare recruiter, and so now I'm looking into probably getting into some sort of education or case management.
Okay. All right.
So according to the BBC, you began back in 2015, and we're seeing the world's first African bobsleigh team. So can I just ask, what on earth inspired? I mean, I'm so happy, and you brought so much pride to us. But what inspired this?
So actually, I must take the blame for that. I have been quite the catalyst behind this, just because back in 2015, I decided that I wanted to get into another Olympic sport. So my history is that I actually competed for Nigeria from 2009 to 2012. I was the 100-meter hurdle champion for Nigeria and African champion. And then I went on to compete in the 2012 Olympic Games for Nigeria. So after 2012, I retired from sports, and in 2015, I had a bit of a rebirth when I saw several of my track friends had transitioned into bobsled. And so I tried out. 3 months later, I made the U.S. bobsled team as a brakeman. And while I was participating in the sport, I started to learn that the sport itself wanted to grow. There had only been about 9 or 10 countries in the world participating in women's bobsleigh. And then I learned that Nigeria never had a bobsled team or any winter Olympic team. And then Africa as a whole has never been represented in the sport of bobsleigh at the Olympic Games. So I said, wow, this is actually starting to grow to be much larger than me. And I actually have the ability to do something about it. And that's when I decided to go ahead and try and start this team. And about September of last year, of 2016, I reached out to these lovely ladies. And
were you friends before?
Yeah, actually, we were.
Why them in particular? Why those two?
You know, I believed in them. I think that they possessed something that was very, very special, and I knew that in order to do this, we weren't going to have a blueprint, and we were going to have a very interesting type of trek in front of us in order to do this. And I felt like they possessed the heart, the dedication, the passion. They are very selfless people, and I knew that's what it's going to take for us to be able to do something like this. Is
we gotta tell people what bobsleigh is all about.
It's true, actually.
We're taking for granted.
Some people will be like, "What are you talking about?"
So what it entails, and what does a driver do? I mean, a driver obviously must be obvious. And the brake, the name says what they do. We have the driver and two brake men or brake women. So tell us, give us a little analysis of the sport. Yeah, go ahead.
So as a brakeman, basically what we do is we get the sled. We are the motor of the sled, so we get the sled to its optimal speed, and then when we jump in for the ride, we kind of pray within that time, and then once we get to the bottom, we hold the brakes.
Okay, you kind of pray.
Yeah.
Pray.
We pray. And there's a lot of thinking in between that time.
That's not very tactical. Prayer.
Okay.
I'm still in the dark.
Okay. So
yeah, add some to that, because if we just go from the movie that we saw, it just looks like a tube that goes really fast in the ice and looks really scary.
So it's a metal craft.
It looks like a bullet.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like a bullet that's just shooting down ice.
Yeah. And what does it run on? Yeah.
We are. What does it run on?
Yeah.
It runs on
runners,
actually, which is funny. Yeah, those are the metal pieces that go underneath the sled, and so it helps glide through the ice. And so pretty much the way that the sled moves is through the driver, and of course that initial push that Ngozi was talking about.
See.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that is about 90 miles per hour, which is
about 100 to 130 kilos,
Kilometers.
kilometers.
Yep.
So we go between like 70 to 90 miles an hour, or about 110 to 130 kilometers.
That's a lot of traveling. That's a lot of speed.
And in the cold as well. Considering, okay, so were you guys born in Nigeria? Spent a lot of time in Nigeria?
No, actually, we were born in the U.S.
Okay.
We've been back to Nigeria several times. Both of our parents are born and raised Nigerian.
Okay.
So although we were born in the U.S., we're actually born and raised Nigerian in the U.S.
Okay. But the time you have spent in Nigeria, and then also considering that you said you grew up in Texas as well, and in a certain part, I'm sure it's quite hot there. Yeah, exactly. So then, was it like a shock now thinking, all right, let's form the first, all-African bobsleigh team? Like, having to deal with the cold and the snow and the ice. How did you adjust?
So I actually was raised in Chicago.
You guys must be very dedicated.
Which is pretty cold.
Yeah, so I got a little bit of glimpse of being cold for most of my life before I moved to Texas.
Oh, okay.
So being there, it was still a shock. I mean, anytime you're anywhere where it's below, 20 Celsius, I think that's still going to be freezing, whether you're from the cold or not. So it was quite an adjustment. The lifestyle in itself is an adjustment. Bobsled is not one of those sports that you just wake up and decide to do one day. It's a learning curve. So
you have to learn how to sprint and also how to drive the sleigh as well.
Exactly. So the key tactical thing is actually learning how to drive, because you have about 16 or so curves every track that you go on that you have to be able to successfully navigate, and you can't react to the curves, because remember, you're going about 80 miles an hour here.
So you have to know the entire route.
You have to know it. Yes.
So it's like Formula One driving, basically.
Exactly.
Wow,
exactly.
That's heavy. All right. So the driver, the first person that gets on.
Yep.
Then the second is the brakeman, and then the third is the other brakeman.
Well, you can again Google our GoFundMe page, Nigerian Women's Bobsled Team. You can also visit our website, bsfnigeria.com. We're also on Instagram as BSF Nigeria on Instagram, Facebook. We're on Twitter and Snapchat.
All right, we want you guys in the Olympics definitely, because that's going to be fantastic viewing, especially in those lycra outfits. Shaun, Ngozi, Ukoma, I want to say thanks, ladies, for coming through.
Thank you.
It's been fascinating, interesting as well.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
And so when the film is about to be made, so don't forget, come and talk to us about the movie when it comes out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know what I'm talking about. You know they're gonna make a film about you.
By God's
they
grace.
might not be made by Nigerians, but they'll be filmed about you.
It won't be Nollywood, just
No, it is. No, we can do Nollywood one. You know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
we can do Nollywood one. We can do both. We
can
do
do
Nollywood
both.
one, and we do
Exactly.
the London UK documentary style. All right, the Nigerian women's bobsleigh team.
Woo!
Fantastic.
Thank you.
All right, stick around now. It's the morning rush of the Beat 99.9.